Hello, everyone. Welcome to Growing Gratitude. I'm Becca Laurie Hector. I am your host every week on Mondays at 11:30 a.m. Eastern for our little live stream here, where we get together to talk about the challenges of being an adult autistic alive right now, right? And what are the gratitudes and things that motivate us to keep going. My poor cat is now locked in this room because he wanted to be in here and now I closed the door and he's trying to get out. I hope I don't have to stop in the middle of this live stream to free him. Anyway, here we are. Welcome to it this week. As you notice, I'm inside and I want to tell you guys, I wanted to be outside so badly today, like up until the last second. Okay. I was ready to carry everything outside and then it started to pour. So it's this really kind of perfectly spooky, like awesome fall day here in Maine. It's rainy and overcast, but this whole morning it was just super overcast and not actually raining. Right. And so the fall colors are out and it's kind of foggy. And it was like this epic, beautiful day that I wanted to share with you out there. Very Stephen King esque, I will say. And then all of a sudden, about a half an hour ago, before we were about to start, sky open, pouring rain. And I would honestly, I would do it for you guys. I would sit out there in the rain, but I don't think you'd be able to hear me over the sound and all of that stuff. So I just said, forget it, doing it inside. Here goes the cat. You're going to hear him letting himself out right now. Can he get out by himself? Perhaps. He did it. Yay, go cat. Okay. In any case, I'm really excited to talk to you about, not really excited, let me rephrase that. I'm distracted now because cat left. I wanted to talk to you today about something I've been thinking about that just really kind of came together for me today, kind of in the shower as I was getting ready today. Oh, look, I really have to figure this situation out with the hair. It's really a situation. I gotta like put it up or something. Okay. In any case, let us continue to talk. This was my situation this week. I had to work on Saturday, which is really unusual for me. That is something that I really try very hard to not have to do. Sometimes an event comes along and they ask me to speak at it, and it's a really good opportunity, or the person that has asked me is someone who I know, or the person who has asked me, even better, is really kind to me and direct about how much things are going to be, how long, what they want from me, right? They're very clear. I love saying yes to those people. And so I had a great opportunity this past Saturday to do a speaking engagement over across the pond from us in the UK. And so I had to work this Saturday. Not a fan of breaking my routine, as many of you might imagine. I'm also not a fan of sort of breaking my boundaries and kind of interrupting my rest time or my kind of free time with doing work, right? It's hard for my brain to do that transition-y stuff. And so I don't usually do that. And that's why I have my schedule set that way. But I did that. And what that meant is the whole little experiment about trying to figure out how to save Sunday from itself kind of went in the tubes. And so this weekend was a little odd. And so what it ended up being to me was, can I recover from it? Like, how do I work around this whole thing? And so what it ended up being was that this week end we ended up not being able to do a kind of a fun day and do anything kind of exciting or fun yesterday. So I ended up using Friday and Sunday to rest because I had that work in between that I needed to do. And I did my errands on the same day that I had that work to do. So I got that all over with together, which was great. But then yesterday I was sort of sitting there and feeling defeated. I was feeling like, oh, I had this whole good idea about how I was going to save my weekends and it was going to be awesome. Right. And then here it comes from, this one change in routine. And now I'm sitting on the couch on a Sunday doing nothing, feeling depressed. Right. Because it went automatically right back to, of course, the old habit of just feeling crappy on Sunday, having a Winnie the Pooh Sunday. Right. Which is how it felt. And so as I was sitting there, I started to think about what else might be going on. Were there other things that I could adjust besides just dealing with the fact that I had to work this weekend? right? What else could I adjust besides choosing not to do something fun? Was there anything else I could think about? And what I ended up realizing is that before, I guess, um, I try not to pre-think about it, I guess is what it is. But I have seasonal depression, or what is called seasonal affective disorder, right? Or SAD, which, I mean, could they have come up with a better name for it? It's already sad. Does it have to be sadder by naming it? But essentially, seasonal affective disorder is when you kind of feel a change in your mood as the seasons change and there's less sunlight out, there's less daylight, period. And I am someone who is really sensitive to that. And I've learned over the years to prepare for the seasonal depression to arrive. I have learned that when those months come around for me, and I actually figured out when they are. And so I know when it begins for me, and also when it ends, which was essential, right? Because you're like, oh, there's a goal, there is an ending, it will get better, right? Which helped a lot. So for me, it's very much a November, sort of a early November, mid-November through about March is really when I struggle the most. Though that December, January, February, really rough for me. And what that means is that I don't really have, the same amount of energy in those months that I do the rest of the year. Pushing through that can be really hard and also really draining. And so what I've learned to do is to sort of coordinate my calendar and my schedule to respond accordingly to this mental health issue that I have. Right. And so I'm coming up on that time. And that's what I realized this Sunday, was that not only am I struggling to avoid autistic burnout desperately with all of the things that I'm doing, but also I'm headed into this season where my depression itself chemically will take an uptick. That's what happens for me. And so with that knowledge on board, I really started to think about, what did I want to do with this season of seasonal depression? And what do I mean by that? Because that sounds crazy. What are your plans for this season of seasonal depression? And of course, always in my plans for this season is self-care, to take care, to treat myself with kindness, know that I will struggle with things this time of year, that I will not be able to do or accomplish as much. I will not be able to take as many appointments or clients, right? Things like that. And there's an awareness of that. But there are other things that I can do. What can I do to add joy to that time? What can I do to make the most of what energy I do have? And for an example of that, the book over my head over here, I'm so terrible with the sides, over here, right? That's what I did last year with seasonal depression. That sounds crazy, right? But writing a book is a very solitary experience. I was working with someone else who was helping me once a week or so on getting through all of it. But for the most part, it was a solitary activity, me with my thoughts and being very introspective, which is exactly what my body and brain naturally want to do at that time of year. And so that last year, I gave into that and I set aside those months specifically to write the book. Well, I did that, and then it came out when my energy was back in April, which was fantastic. And so I was coming into this year and I started to think, do I want to do that again? Do I want to write another book? What else do I want to be doing? And what I realized is this year is going to be different. This year, I want to try things a little different. What I usually do is pick a big project to get through in those few months so that I feel like I've accomplished something at the end of that goal. But this year, as you guys know, I refreshed my website and I did a few different things. And so I've been rethinking about that maybe this year, as I go into the seasonal depression months, it's a little more of a vague assignment, right, for me. What I really want to be working on this holiday season, I don't know what to call it this, because it's not really, I don't know, my seasonal depression season sounds terrible. So my sad season sounds even worse. So I have to really think about what to call it. But during this season, what are the things that I can be productive about? Because I know there will be a lot of things that I won't be able to be productive about. And so for me, writing in and of itself and creating that kind of very introspective content comes naturally to me at this time of year. So that's my plan. I am going to work on the newsletter that I plan to send out to you guys. If you're signed up for my newsletter, if you're not, head over to my website, beccalaurie.com, and sign up for my newsletter. And then also, because that'll be coming out starting in January, so I have to think about what I want it to look like. What kind of information do I want to include all the time for you guys? What will I be putting out there with it? Right. And the other thing that I have promised to you guys in terms of content is to create a Patreon account. It's something that I avoided doing for a really long time. I was unsure about the platform. I was unsure how my content would fit on a platform like that. And I think I figured it out. At least I'm on my way. And so that's really going to be my two goals for this seasonal depression season, is to get the newsletter started, to get it out for January, to get it out again in February and again in March, right? And keep going. And at the same time, get my Patreon up, right? And start creating content just for that. And one of the things I want to create just for that are like more literary type blog pieces. I don't know how else to describe that. I want to work on more of the writing that I did, more of the type of writing that I did for the book, but about different things. So I'm going to be exploring with that. The other thing I talked to you guys about last week is the little tiny joy piece goal that I'm going to be setting for those really for that really introspective time for myself, is tackling fiction, right? I want to take on fiction writing for the first time. I'm petrified. So I'm taking baby stows in. I'm thinking about doing NaNoWrite. I'm thinking about NaNoMoWrite, whatever it is. And I'm new to it, so pardon. Something like that, or looking for a writing buddy to body double with, or something like that. So that I can begin to play with the idea of writing with fiction. And I like the idea that I said it like that I want to play with the idea of fiction writing, because that's what I want that to be for me. The purpose of that writing for me is really to like fill my heart and fill my soul, and to see if I can do it, and to take on the challenge, not to be amazing, not to be the best fiction writer on the planet, and certainly not necessarily with the end goal of producing any kind of product, just to see if I can do the skill, to learn the skill, right? And see where it takes me. So those are sort of my little thoughts from sitting around on a Sunday that I should have been out doing a fun day, but I wasn't, because I had this odd change in routine. Cool. So Sunday ended up being a really productive thought process, right? Because that was my challenge of this week, was really the anxiety of this upcoming like interruption in routine, and the fallout, worrying about the fallout from it. How big would the fallout be? And it turns out it wasn't so big, because I said yes to an event that I feel really good about, that where I was talking about the things that I love. And so it filled me up in its own little way, even though I was expending energy. So I kind of came out even in the end, I guess. And so that was good. But also I sat on Sunday, and I really sat with the income of fall, with the feelings that fall brings up, I think, for me, which is this very cozy wanting to, like this sweater, very cozy wanting to stay inside the house and drink hot drinks, and be alone or with very few people, and have very deep conversations. That's what the fall means to me. And so I want to do those things. And if I want to do those things, I need to think about how that seasonal affective disorder is going to impact that piece, and what I'm going to plan for. And so this is my plan of attack for this year for seasonal depression, is to work on the Patreon, work on the newsletter. And those are sort of my productive goals. And then my joy goals are to learn to tackle a little bit of fiction writing, and to look into that, and to learn more about that. And so I feel better about that. I feel like my Sunday was actually really helpful to me, and that I feel like I'm heading into this week energized, and not feeling afraid of when the depression might arrive, but feeling ready for it, knowing that it will come, and knowing that when it does, I'm ready to start slowing down. But in the meantime, I've got a good solid month ahead of me, or at least what's left of it, to get things out to you, to keep doing the things that I'm doing, and to keep pushing just a little bit harder, and using up what social I have left, until I have to start kind of pulling back, right? Because my energy is pulled back, and I will be responsive to that, as I think we all need to be. So I guess that's my big takeaway today. And my big gratitude is for yesterday, is for having a Sunday where I could really be alone with my thoughts and really kind of parcel out this whole piece. And I'm grateful for having a kind of a plan that feels good and feels less pressured than last year with the book, but also it feels aligned. It feels aligned with where I want my 2025 to go, which I think is going to be really important. That what I use up what's left of 2024 to create a 2025, excuse me, that I really enjoy. Right. So I'll do that. For sure I will. And that's really what this week is going to be about, is going to be processing through some of that and what that means, and how can I begin to set myself up for success with that, right? How can I do those things? Yeah. So grateful for that, and I'm really grateful for this for the awareness that I have around my seasonal depression. I really became aware of it. I want to say like 3 years ago I started to do the work around it and started to adjust around it. And I feel like last year was the first year I really succeeded with managing that depression in a way that felt good. See, I got through it and I left with a book, right? I got through it and I left. I had something to show for it, and that's how I want to feel again this year. But I need it to be something more aligned. Another book doesn't feel aligned yet, but working on that Patreon and writing um, uh, more deeply for those Patreon pieces feels truer to me. Um, and so that's what I'll be doing. I hope you guys will join me for that when I'm finally ready to unveil it. I will, of course, share with you the journey of growth as I'm going through it and getting it ready for you guys, because there's so much that always has to happen on the back end before I get to deliver things to you in a way that it will make sense. It starts out here in a jumble and eventually ends up on the other side. So with that, I say I am grateful for my crazy weekend. I'm also grateful this week for my awareness of the seasonal depression and for a new plan to tackle it. Looking forward to this week. I really loved the opportunities that came my way last week. And I'd really love whatever opportunities come my way this week. I'm open to them. And I think that's the biggest thing, is just showing up every day, being open and ready for whatever comes at you, right? And comes to you, and that kind of thing. So with that, I say that was Growing Gratitude Live. I'm Becca Laurie Hector. I am your host. We are here every Monday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, where I talk about my challenges from the week past and what I'm grateful for that got me through, and how I'm headed into that next week motivated. Right? What's getting me through? And so I appreciate you going on that journey with me. And I sure hope it inspires you to go on that journey yourself around gratitude and to start to create some more gratitude in your life. So until next Monday, please make sure to take care of your meat suit, take care of your headspace, and of course, keep your eyes open for all the glimmers out there that motivate you and keep you going in the weeks ahead. Thanks, guys.